What is the worst thing you've ever done? Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy. Thanks. I spent 16 years working at a hospital in a large Western Canadian city. It was an incredible place to grow up. Started when I was 23 and left when I turned 37. Shortly after I started, there was an elderly woman who was quite sick. It was about 11 p.m. when I was speaking with her, making sure she was comfortable. Once I was satisfied that she was seen to, I turned to leave the room. She put her hand on my arm and with the saddest eyes ever asked me if I would sit with her for a while. I wanted to, but I was honestly so busy I didn't think I could spare the time. I came back to her room around 3 a.m. to find that she had passed away. I was heartbroken then, and I still am when I think about it. To think of her taking her last breath alone brings me to tears. I promised myself from that moment on that if a patient ever asked me to just be with them, hold their hand, whatever they needed, I would literally drop whatever I was doing and give them all the time they needed. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you when all you wanted was a warm hand to hold. Told me he hopes my family dies horribly from cancer, gets raped, myself included in those threats, etc., etc. Normal edgelord loser behavior. Dude apparently forgot that his post history was public and did not realize I am not the one. He talked about how he considered suicide. A friend had recently sent me a pic of a self-inflicted GSW, so when the dude wouldn't leave me alone, I sent him that picture. It was very obvious what had happened and told him this could be you if you weren't such a fucking coward. He deleted his account and that was the end of that. Okay FBI lol. Mine feel really tame in comparison, but I was just so mean to my parents and I feel terrible about it now. My mom passed away right as I was coming out of my shitty teenage girl phase when relationships with mothers are usually hardest. I never had a close relationship with her growing up. She was always either at work or sleeping from exhaustion. I didn't even want to talk to her while I was away at school and vocalized it. I would talk to my dad. I know it hurt her feelings and it pains me so much now to think about, especially knowing our relationship would have changed so much in the years that she's since been gone. It's something I think about constantly and have so much guilt for. Nobody knows and nobody would ever think I could have done it. I had a fake name and just a few clients. One of them was a regular. This regular guy was always very nice to me, but the others treated me like shit. It's probably the only secret I will die with. In high school I had a tennis coach who outright had a vendetta against me. He was mad that I couldn't play an official match with a 103 fever in 98-degree weather. And since then, had it out for me. He'd single me out in group chats, exclude me from team gatherings, etc. I didn't care, but it was still infuriating to be treated that way. He was also a well-known misogynist and racist. Every practice up until I graduated, I made it my mission to overhit a ball and hit him. Very petty and immature, but my teenager self wasn't going to do nothing and take it because all the administration did was tell me, he's just like that because he sees your potential. Best shot I hit was from an adjacent court. Hit it into the air from the baseline and smacked him right on the head. I didn't follow through with it, but there's this man who's always drunk and homeless that hangs around my bus stop. He's always trying to get with the woman who walked past him, and he's pretty rude. Last week on my way to uni, I was feeling awful, mentally, so I approached him and agreed to do what he wanted. On our way to an alleyway, I changed my mind and kind of ran away. I don't even want to think about what would have happened if he wasn't drunk and moving slow. I just wanted to feel something, anything. Back when I worked in a biology lab and the pet industry, I was responsible for euthanizing a lot of animals before I put my foot down and insisted the methods needed to change and we needed to limit the numbers. Also, I used to breed animals for the pet industry and most became feeders. At one point, the pet shop I was selling to suddenly stopped wanting them and I had 3 litters I couldn't get rid of. No other pet shops or people wanted them, and I couldn't keep that many rats in my tiny apartment, so I had to bring some to the animal shelter to be euthanized. It makes me so sad and I feel so guilty. I now work with a rat rescue to try to make up for it, and I've adopted and fostered a ton of rats over the years. I still feel terrible and have horrifying nightmares about the pet biology industry and the things I did for money. Fuck pithing day. My brother was 4 and had open heart surgery. I refused to visit him in hospital even though the likelihood of him not making it out was high. He's fine now, but I don't think I'll forgive myself for that. I punched my mother so hard it sent her to the hospital. My brother 10 and I 11 were fighting in our preteen youth. My mother always took his side because he was a year younger. My fists were shaking in anger as she said the situation was my fault and I should be the bigger person. She told me to punch a pillow, and I said I didn't want to because it wasn't what was making me mad. She said okay. Hit me then? Later I learned she thought I would just slap her, and she planned that she would slap me back. But I didn't slap her. I punched her in the stomach so hard she collapsed onto the floor, and she needed an ambulance because she had internal bleeding. She died a few years later due to her own worsening health anorexia. But I can't help but blame myself. I made my stepsister cry on her wedding day because she snubbed my family. My dad took her in out of an abusive situation. My parents did the best they could to help her but kicked her out. She was an adult out of school with a job when they found out she had done coke. She wasn't an addict in front of me. I was 14 or so. She never got over it and made a point to not invite them to her wedding and trash-talked the entire family. Said coke was also found in her purse within reach of my little sisters, who were both under 6 at this time. It could have ended very, very badly. This was in the 2000s, and there was no therapy in my area. We did everything we could with resources we had. When my dad kicked her out, he had her moved with his parents where they also tried to help her. We didn't make her homeless, and they too had a loving home for her. We really did try, and she hated us. I tried to be her sister a few times, but it always ended in snarky comments about my clothes or music, so I gave up. She told me years before the wedding that she hated the word cunt, and when I called on "Hey Dad, is really hurt that you excluded him," and she tried to act like she was better than us, I pulled out that card. We went back and forth, and I heard a few days later that I pissed her off so bad that she was in tears. I found out a few months later, the day after her wedding, she was induced into labor to have her child. I have since gone through a labor induction, so I understand how it works. Maybe I should bad, but I really don't. She made my life hell and looked down on me because of the way I dressed, and in turn ended up hurting my little sister emotionally by lying to her as well. The way I look at it, it was karma from years of her making fun of me. The last time I saw her was at family reunion, and she tried to hit on my husband while she was married. TLDR, I made my stepsister cry on not just her wedding day but the day before her labor induction. It's been years since, and I do not feel bad about it. Maybe I'm an asshole, maybe it's petty, but one can only take so much bullying before they snap. My dumbass thought that it would be a great idea to get together with someone who just fit out of an asylum. She's back, and I should go to one to now. Force myself to sleep with a third individual in what I thought was a monogamous relationship. For his pleasure. I think I was around 15 or 16 at that time. On my way home from school, I saw a dad with his daughter, 4 to 5 years old, in the same train. She stood up out of nowhere and tried to run down the way in the middle of the train into the direction downstairs to the exit of the train. He stood up, pulled her back to the seats, and pushed her into the seat. It was a little aggressive, but not into bad. The girl got a shock from how he handled her and started crying. And now when I think back, I think that I maybe really hurt him with this comment and had no idea how much he invests in being a dad or what he's going through, and maybe had a really stressful day or was worried. I'm not sure, but I think I saw him 3 years later again with his daughter and said nothing. When I think back now, I wish I could say sorry to him for my idiotic comment and should really mind my business sometimes. I'm not a parent yet, but I think that something like that could have really break me and question if I am really such a horrible parent as that kid told me. Parents are also just humans. I am so sorry. Stopped talking to my older sister for months. She was going through a lot and I couldn't stand the drama. I was 14 or 15. It wasn't fair to her. We're doing better now. BTW. Worst best, got the head of a large conglomerate replaced Red, fired after publishing a paper on his unethical work and its effects on children. This unfortunately also had the effect of his team department being dissolved, which I'm guessing means they were all laid off. Like, on the one hand, good riddance to him. On the other, I hate to think of the others losing their livelihood because of me. Everyone knew everyone. Once I turned 18, I got on some sugar daddy websites. To my surprise, there was a profile for a sugar daddy located in my city. I think he messaged me first. He agreed to give me $1,300 to meet him at a hotel. He sent me a picture of him and I showed it to one of my friends who ended up knowing him. He had step kids that were our age, and my friend had his wife's Facebook page pulled up within minutes. I knew one of his stepdaughters. I didn't particularly like her, so I was 100% on board with meeting up with him. Ended up seeing him about 30 times over the course of 7 months. Made God knows how much money. He wanted to sleep with his stepdaughter, the one that I knew. He would steal her clothes, underwear, and bring them to me to put on while we had sex. While I was changing, he would get into bed and pull up pictures of her wearing those outfits, and then proceed to talk to me the way he wanted to talk to her. He was sitting next to me, but I wasn't paying total attention, and he reached down for something and fell and hit his head. It was a total accident, and he's over 20 now and totally fine, but JFC, I think about that all the time. Not great at forgiving myself. My cousin had a girlfriend who was claiming abuse from her parents, so she was basically a roommate with my parents and me. I gave her my bedroom. I slept in the living room. She said she had OCD that involved cleaning. My cousin and her within about 1 month started calling me to my face a nasty bitch. My mom found pills in her room for an STD. She tried to tell me how to do my hair. We have completely different hair. She tried to tell me what to eat and how to make it. My cousin never believed she was fucking batshit crazy. I had enough of her making me cry. I took her loofah, and while in the shower I wiped my ass with it. She never noticed. My cousin got an apartment with her because of all the crap she did at our house. I didn't write in here. My cousin soon realized she's batshit crazy, controlling, lazy, and a slob. And don't tell me she did it because of her childhood. She was about 20 and I also have PTSD from my childhood. I think I'm a good person, but I can be petty too. My boyfriend at the time had a brother, Z, that had a girlfriend, H. At the time I was long distance with my boyfriend as he was in college. Because of this we didn't have many pictures together during that period, so I didn't really have any of us together to post on Instagram. Thus my Instagram mostly was a compilation of my school activities and sports. H didn't like me at all, and to this day I still have no clue why. I tried to befriend her, but she just wasn't having it and would call me names and talk about me to others at my school. H went as far to tell everyone I was cheating on my boyfriend since I didn't have any pics of him on my Insta, and texted him saying she saw me with other boys at school, which was super untrue. What she didn't know was that I knew Z snuck out most school nights to go sleep with another girl in his grade. I thought it was pretty odd this girl was accusing me of cheating while her boyfriend was the one cheating. So, what did my 16-year-old brain decide to do? Create a fake Instagram account and send her a DM about how I was a concerned friend who wanted her to know Z was cheating on her most nights of the week. She texted back and said basically proof or it didn't happen, in which case I replied, I don't have proof, but I just thought I'd warn you. Fast forward 2 days later, Z and H were broken up and Z was confused on who told on him and came to the conclusion it must have been one of the friends of the girl he was sleeping with. Really haven't told anyone that story to this day. I'm not sure why I did it. I guess I was just annoyed and wanted her to stop being mean and feel hurt. I regret doing it though because I think I could have handled the situation differently, and I'm sad I caused someone else hurt. I've learned from this though that it's not okay to hurt someone back if they're hurting you. There's other options.